This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this will be like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And please, wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom and leave a rating and a brief written review? It will enable other excellent people just like you to be able to locate this podcast, and you can receive this podcast wherever podcasts can be listened to: iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Podbean, and many, many more. Today I want to talk about the fact that many of us may have gotten stopped by some outside forces, hopefully not any internal forces, and that can often cause us a loss of momentum. It is amazing that once you get momentum like the wind behind your back, it is as if you can accomplish just about anything, but you slow it down or even bring it to a stop, and it is so difficult to get it started. I have heard the illustration of a locomotive, a steam engine, if you will, that once it gets ahead of steam and gets momentum and is pushing forward, it can just about go through any amount of an obstacle. Yet when you bring a steam engine or a locomotive to a complete dead stop, you could put a toothpick on the rail and it would be enough to keep the engine from moving forward. And unfortunately, that is what momentum looks like in our life. Once we get it going, we begin to click some things off. We begin to put some wins under our belt. We begin to see that thing called progress. It just seems like we're unstoppable. We're in kind of a zone. We're focused. Time seems almost to stand still. And it's as if you can get a whole lot more accomplished in less time than you've ever been able to do at any time in your life. And the reverse or the opposite is also true. Once you've gotten stopped or stuck or off track, it really takes a little extra labor and a little extra energy and a lot of extra effort to get you back on track. So that's what we're going to discuss today on Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, is how to get back on track. I'm going to go to some of my old standbys that have helped me. For frankly, this year we've all gotten a little stuck and stopped and sidetracked. One of those is I go back to those things that I can count on. And one of the things that I've learned that I can count on is my routines. It's where I get my energy, it's where I get my focus, it's where momentum comes from, frankly. And for me, I have a morning and an evening routine. I also have kind of some rhythms in the day and the week on getting certain things done. When you're in unfamiliar surroundings and things seem to have come apart, one of the things that will help you to regain your footing and to get a little bit of momentum started again is to go back to the things that caused you to have momentum in the first place. And one of those was you had your goals, review them. It may very well be, my friends, that some of the goals that you were ascribing and some of the things that you were really aspirational about and you really were hopeful for may not today, even next week or next year, make as much sense, but find out what it is and where it is that you need that momentum and get it done. Go back to your routines. I think one of the earlier, easiest things to do to begin to regain momentum is get some easy and early wins under your belt. Set yourself some goals like, I'm going to follow my daily routine for the next couple of days. I'm going to get myself reestablished. There are often times when I have used, all right, I'm going to clean and straighten up my office. I'm going to clean my desktop. I'm going to do something that is an easy win. Now, I'm not saying something that's insignificant for maybe there's a files that you just need to kind of get them straightened up. Perhaps there are a couple of clients that you just need to call and re-engage with and tell them, though things have kind of broken down a little bit, you're back in the game. These are the promises we can make. We're going to fulfill them. And hold an employee meeting. Work on your budget. Recalibrate something. Set aside 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour to brainstorm something or to rework. Do some things that will give you a sense of internal progress, and not just that you're doing something as in busy work to do something, but that you're doing something that's going to contribute. It's amazing how quickly you can reestablish some of those feelings by getting some quick wins under your belt. I would also understand, I think, let's just take a time out and say relapse is always a part of the process. Nothing ever works like clockwork. Nothing ever goes exactly 100% as you drew it up on the drawing board. There are always setbacks, roadblocks, things that we could not foresee. There are unexpected obstacles along the way. You will not have not only a pain-free future, you'll not have an obstacle-free future. They are just a part of it. So relapse, there will be days when you just don't get done the things that you really desired and wanted to get done that day. It happens. Instead of feeling guilty that you didn't get it done, everyone has a bad day, a bad week, even a bad month. Some of us feel like we're having a bad year, I suppose. But there'll be days when it just doesn't happen, and don't feel guilty. Take your energy, and rather than focusing it on loss and regret, just begin to say, I'm going to put my energy and my focus on starting over. So just make sure, write down the goal, maybe work on one or two. A dream written down with a date, as you know, becomes the goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes your plan, and a plan backed by action is how we make these things happen. I think the best thing to do, as well as you're looking for the future, is go ahead and do an autopsy. What exactly stopped you? Well, now, this past year, we all know kind of what stopped us. I know the past is not necessarily a predictor of the future, but if there were some other things that maybe are getting lost in the record of what happened this year, maybe there's some other habits, some other attitudes, some other things that happened that we need to really determine. And then there is that truth. If you continue to do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always gotten. So therefore, this is a great time to check in to see, are my systems delivering what I intend for them to deliver? And if I would have had a reasonably ordinary year, would I have been able to accomplish them? Had I overestimated? Had I underestimated? Do I need to look again at the things I'm doing? The only way to get a different outcome is to figure out what's not working. Now, again, this is a year where we may just be able to give everybody pretty much a mulligan and say, that was an interesting experiment, let's start over and let's do it again. So there's nothing wrong with that. The worst thing that can happen is if you just give up on your dream and say, well, I knew it would never happen. Last year, in most of the world, if not all of the world, was a very difficult, trying time that no one could foresee was going to happen. No one could have predicted it. And if anyone tells you they did, I would run fast the other direction. But it is still a good time for us to get honest with ourselves. Were the things of our doing that got in the way? It's easy to blame everybody else. But in the midst of all of this, I just think we need to make sure that we're saying, okay, there are some things that I'm doing. Make sure it wasn't your own resistance that kind of led into it. I think one of the things in moving forward that we need to do is, as we are working toward aspirational goals or other goals that we've put deadlines on and we've broken them down into small bite-sized pieces, is make sure you build some time in to learn what you don't know. And perhaps one of the best exercises you could do today is to make sure you really understand what you don't know. It's oftentimes what we don't know that will really trip us up and will really set us back. There are many business owners or people who start side hustles or entrepreneurs, solopreneurs who get stuck on their journey just because they didn't see something and they don't really have expertise in that area, and oftentimes they don't even know who to go to. For example, if you don't know how to make a website and you don't have the time, the skill set, or even the desire to learn how to do that, that will be a very steep learning curve. You don't know the steps. Now, obviously, you and I live in a great time. There are YouTube videos on just about how to do anything. So if it's something you really want to do, there's someone from anything mechanical as well as anything that would help you in starting a business. And it's learning how to make things and how to fix things. So those are there. But oftentimes, there's nothing wrong with setting aside a little bit of our cash to engage someone we have confidence in and to do some serious vetting. But oftentimes the best thing you can do is an exchange of money for someone who has expertise to help move the ball down the field, freeing you up to do the things that you are expert in and can do very well. Now, with all of that being said, all along the way throughout this next year as you're working on these goals, they're going to be, make it a year of learning. Learn something you don't know. Become knowledgeable about something that will help you move yourself forward. This has been a year in which people have really beaten up themselves. It's a year that's not only taken an extreme physical toll and loss of life and grief and loss, it's also been a mental health challenge, a self-care challenge. So right now, I don't want this podcast to be another burden upon your back of someone else coming alongside you and telling you, you know, you really have failed, you don't know what you're doing, why don't you give up? I want to build you up. There are many legitimate reasons why we are all in the position we are. Don't give up. Obstacles, setbacks, they are a part of the life that we live. And it's not that anyone lives a pain-free life. Pain is a part of it. Misery, though, is optional. And if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to get things done, it's going to take some mental and physical fortitude. You're going to have to develop a thick skin. People won't understand. People will talk about you. Yes, they'll even make fun of you. They will ascribe different kinds of values to what you are doing rather than the ones you have. But you're going to have to get your skin thickened up. It's going to take an incredible amount of tenacity to get things done. And even in the midst of difficulties, setbacks, confusion, things we didn't see that do indeed happen, don't lose sight of what you're doing. Keep your eye on the goal. Keep your eye on the prize. The reason these things are hard is these are not natural attributes that come easily for most of us. We have to do the building up and the encouragement. This might be why you need a peer coach. You might need a group of friends who can come alongside and you could mutually encourage each other. Find a mentor if you don't have one, or a coach. They'll guide you in the right direction. They'll be that person who will give you the nudge, the push that you need. They'll be the ones who will strengthen you when you falter and you feel like, what's the use? Another thing as you get back on track and are seeking to get momentum going again is make sure that you have some sort of a tracking system. I remember a year in which I used a bullet journal, and that really was almost a magical something that year. Again, I was reaching toward goals, but rather than just focusing on the goal, I was tracking the behaviors and the steps that needed to be taken in order to reach that. They were measurable, they were daily, and I kept track of them. And sure enough, if I did them enough times in a given period of time, I reached my goal. That's one tracking system. There are all sorts of tracking systems. But before you push forward, my friend, right now predetermine how you're going to track, what it is that you're going to track. Oftentimes we track things that really don't move the situation the direction we think it is. It's because someone's told us that. You need to study people who have accomplished what you want to accomplish, and then notice the habits and actions that they took. Then take your eyes a little bit off of the finished product and begin to track those attitudes, actions, and steps that will move you, and just begin to track it. That will help to keep you on track. For when you do get off again, you say, well, wait a minute, tomorrow, I didn't do it today, but tomorrow I've got to get back on track, and here are the steps that I need to learn. I think another thing that will help you today is just learn to reframe and to look at setbacks and obstacles in a different way. Oftentimes, people see them as stop signs that say, oh, I'll just give up, this is too hard. But though it could be that it's just a challenge for a reason. If it wasn't difficult, everyone would be doing it. Oftentimes, I have come to discover that the more difficult and the more obstacles there are is a sign to me that I'm on the right track. This is really important. I would also say to you, clean up your calendar, clean up your desk. Make sure you're spending time doing that which you really need to do. And the last thing that I would mention on how to get restarted and get momentum back is just take some time today and recommit yourself. Commit to the goals. If you have to change them, adjust them, that's perfectly fine, as you know. But just commit yourself to it. We're never going to get anywhere in life until we really commit. Nothing has happened. No one follows the Lord. No one gets married. No one starts a business until someone gets committed. So just recommit yourself to those things that you know you have been put here on earth to do. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today that this is like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, if you would please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a brief rating and a written review. It would really enable other excellent people just like you to locate this podcast. Remember, my leadership friend, you are doing better than you think you are. You really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.